People are quick to judge. People are quick to judge masculine women, or quick to call women masculine, especially, of course, especially men, of course, especially these days, right? Call them masculine, especially in the day of with this new era of soft life. The masculine thing is really coming out as a judgment, right? Judgment of people, right? Judgment of women. Oh, you should be soft. But it's funny how the people that are passing judgment, first of all, many of them were once there, but they're not going to tell you that, right? They're not going to tell you, this was me once upon a time, right? If they were not there, let's say, for example, they got out of it. Sometimes there are some girls that get out of it young through other means. They take care of their body, they do a good job maintaining their physique, and they get out through the provision of a man. They make a choice to go with that lifestyle, and that's fine. That's what they choose to do. But then they're quick to say, oh, you're masculine, you're this, you're that. Whoa. What you're not acknowledging is that you considered this too, right? You consider the reason why you made the choice to pursue that lifestyle is because you considered it as well, or you started living like this, and then you realize, yeah, I don't want to do it this way. I prefer to do it. We don't want to say easier. There's no easier or harder. It's just choose a path and then go with that path, right? So you did make a choice. So you know that it's either you choose to spend time on your body and things like that, or you choose to actually spend time on education and actually go the path of grinding and hustling the way that society wants you to do, right? That's how society programmed all of us to function. So you can choose that path. So you chose, or they chose, whomever, they chose the path of elevating the outward appearance in order to get things out of life, out of men. And that's one path. We're not saying it's easier or harder, because everybody makes a choice, and they just go with that one, right? But the funny thing is, not funny, but one thing that people don't consider, that don't talk about, is they're quick to judge women for being masculine, or they're so, you're too hard, you're too this. Well, first of all, maybe so, right? It could be many of those observations, many of those comments are factual. Like, it is true. But instead of saying it as a fact, as a statement, right? As an observation, as a comment, without any judgment behind it, they say it like a judgment. Like, they say it as in pointing fingers. Number one, who are you to point fingers? Right? Who are you to point fingers? Because you made a choice too, based on that. Your choice may look a little bit different from others, but you did make a choice. So it's not like you didn't realize what was going on. You knew, and you chose. Right? Number two, most of your mothers most of your mothers also are the very thing that you're criticizing and judging. Most of your mothers are masculine. Most of them did not receive princess treatment and this and that. Their hands are not as pristine as you would like the world to believe they are, right? Why? Because they've been laboring for a very long time. They've been laboring to raise you. They labored to raise you, not just at birth, but throughout your lifetime. So what are we talking about here, right? That's one. So instead of, maybe judging, if you have an opinion about it, you can say, hey, this is the better path because, this is what I think. And you are masculine by acting like this, but here's one way that you can come out of it. Instead of offering support, okay, offering advice, offering help, some people are too busy judging, like they're above the thing, when in fact they were there yesterday, right? Or they were in it not too long ago, or they know someone, or they have a sister, or they have, or their mom is in this right now, right? Their mom is in this right now while they're living large and living on, boats and yachts and things. Their mom is somewhere clocking in somewhere, right? And again, nothing wrong with that if that's the path they choose. Everybody's different. But how are you going to come out at people with judgment when you know full well it's not that easy, right? For any of us, it's not that easy. How are you going to come out and judge? If you have an alternative, if you have a better idea, you can come out offering that. And that the spirit in which you share this information is very different than when you just come out swinging with judgment. It's very different, right? So when one thing that people don't talk about is when they see masculine, quote unquote, masculine women, independent women, which now has a bad rap. Talking about, oh, you're too hard, you're too this, oh, no man is gonna want you. Okay. No one wants to discuss how they got there, right? No one wants to discuss the pressures. The pressures that they've endured, that they've overcome, that they are dealing with right now, just to stay afloat, just to stay surviving, alive. Okay? So instead of coming alongside her and saying, hey, you know what? I notice that you're doing a lot. Let's say you are that woman with all that free time and you get to enjoy your day and whatnot. You don't have to report anywhere and get to go shopping and da. Okay, let's say you are that woman. That's wonderful. Good for you. Right? Maybe with all that free time, if you really care, instead of coming out with judgment, maybe you can offer an hour or two of your time, if you really care, if you're that concerned, right, about the other woman that's masculine, by your own words. Maybe you can offer 1 or 2 hours of your own time to help her out, even for a day. It doesn't have to be long term, right? Even for a day, to relieve her of this so-called masculinity that you're judging her for. Okay, let's say it's your neighbor that you're seeing act like this. Probably, maybe not, but let's say it's your neighbor. Say, hey, you know what? Let me help you. I have an extra hour. Let me help you with your kids. Or, hey, I'm running this errand. over here, I'm going to the mall, I'm gonna pass the store anyways. Can I get you something, right? Just a small gesture, right? Just a small just reaching out and just say, hey, can I get you something? Okay. Or I'm gonna pass this, I'm gonna pass the school anyways. I can pick up your kids for you and bring them back. I'm coming back around anyways, right? Later on today. Yeah. You have no idea. You have no idea what this could do for her day. What this could do for her day. How much pressure it could relieve for her. Right? You have no idea. So instead of judging her, okay, especially when you see them, we're not talking about the ones that are mean spirited and bossing people around and nasty and things like that. Although it could very much get there. If you're that overwhelmed, you could very much become that. But we're talking about those that are genuinely just trying to put one foot in front of the other. Like, you see them coming out of their house every day, tired, going to work tired, coming home exhausted, barely able to stand, barely, right? Carrying in groceries and things, and running errands, going to and fro with children on their back, right? Carrying this and that, answering phone calls, running around, running themselves ragged, running themselves to the ground. You see that, though. If you see that day in and day out, how are you going to turn around and this person is, decent person, nice person, otherwise, and they still manage to be sweet somehow? They still manage to treat people well. They still manage to not be nasty and things like that, because some of them really do get kind of nasty, but they still manage to be good to people despite all of this pressure. And all you have to offer is criticism, judgment. You can't say, hey, let me help you bring the groceries. And you can't say that. You can't say, hey, I'll stay outside with you. I'll play outside with your kid for an hour. I have a little bit of time on my hands. Okay. Or you don't even have to. I mean, you don't owe them that, right? You don't have to sacrifice your own life for her life. You don't have to do that. But if you're that concerned, and you want to reach out, or you want to help or something like that in some way, the way to help is not running your mouth. That's not a way to help people, right? In fact, it's people like you that keep adding to the pressures that these so-called masculine women experience. It's just like they're never enough. They can never do enough, right? They're running around, they're running themselves to the ground, and still people find something to criticize them about. Oh, you're running yourself. Oh, you're too independent. Oh, you're too responsible. Oh, you do too much. Well, yeah, the alternative would be to sit down, do nothing, and let the kids go hungry, right? Don't feed them, don't go to work, don't pay bills, just stay on the system, right? Keep collecting money from the government, okay? And just sit down, like, do nothing, right? Don't contribute to society, like, don't do anything. That's the alternative. And then I'm sure they would have something to say about that. Right? They would have something to say about that. So you see somebody genuinely trying to do their best to live and provide for themselves and their children. Instead of offering help, you offer judgment. What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? You're just like the rest of them. You're just adding to their pressures, adding to their problems, instead of taking away and removing them and helping them shoulder the weight of the world as a woman, helping them shoulder the weight of the world, okay? You would think that if you see something like this and you have a little bit of wiggle room, offer help or don't offer anything at all because you have nothing positive to say. So don't say it. Okay? Simple. Just enjoy your life that you've managed to put together. Okay? Enjoy your Barbie status and leave people alone. You don't need to comment on their lifestyle if you're not going to help. If you have nothing positive to say, then don't say anything, because especially if the person is, again, we're not talking about those people that are walking around nasty to other people and being very rude and disrespectful. Like, we're not talking about that. We're talking about decent women that are just tired. Okay? And you have other women, the Barbie girls, that they're not going to help you lift a finger. That's the point. They got out of that life so they don't have to lift a finger, so that they can have to spend time on their own looks and body and enjoy life, enjoy the soft life, as they say these days, right? And not have to do anything. They don't have to use their brain for anything. They don't have to solve any problems. They can just wake up and exist, just like a flower. And you know what? More power to you. But don't look at the other one and judge her for trying her best to survive in a world that creates the conditions for her to die, basically, right? The world creates the conditions for women to wither and die. You happen to escape that. More power to you. Congratulations. Okay? But don't add to her problems. If you can't solve them, just keep it moving. Okay? You don't need to pass judgment and cast out and cast negative energy towards her just because she's trying to make it. Okay? If you can't help her carry the weight, then just stay out of her way. Okay? And stop judging her and making her feel bad, adding more emotional pressures to her already difficult world, right? She doesn't need that. She doesn't need that from you. She doesn't need that from anybody. Okay? And this is why women, it's very hard to count on women for anything, because whoa, they just can't help you with anything. If they're not jealous of you, they're putting you down in some way. They're in your way where you can't get through. You're trying to do something, you can't do it. Trying to say something, you can't say it because they're too sensitive. You're trying to make money, they're blocking you from that. You're trying to have a marriage, they're stealing you. It's just like, oh, you know what? Just stop this. Just stop. Right? Women can't be trusted unless you find some good ones. So of course, there's exceptions to the rules, but be careful with women. Be careful with them. They just bring a lot of problems. They bring a lot of problems unless they are mature. Unless we're talking about somebody who's mature and conscious. Obviously, no one is perfect. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's trying their best to live this life as best as they can. But if you can't help someone, if you see someone in need, and it doesn't have to be a beggar on the street. Need comes in many forms. If you see someone in need and you have the ability to help them and you don't, then just live with that. Just stay with that and then keep it moving. Just live your life. But to be able to help, not help, and then sit there and judge them on top of that, wow. How do you sleep at night? How do you do this? How do you do this? Doesn't mean you can't have an opinion. You can have an opinion, of course. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But to just sit there and put another woman down, whether directly or indirectly, whether she's there or not, sit there and bash her for trying to do the right thing, trying to make it. No one talks about what's causing her to get there. What's causing her to have to live in these conditions? No one talks about that, but they're quick to say, "Oh, she's masculine." Well, do you really think that that's what she wants? I mean, let's be real. Let's use common sense. Common sense. Do you really think, we're talking about reasonable women, we're not talking about those extremes out there. Do you really think most reasonable, decent women, they want to live like this? They want to hustle and grind? They want to run around and ragged? Never experience life? They want to have kids and not be able to see their children? They just had the baby and they have to put the baby in daycare because they have to report back to work. Report back to work. Are you serious? Do you really think that they want to, they're sick every month, sick, crying, painkillers? Do you really think they want to go out in the world and do this every day? I mean, let's use logic. Let's use logic. Instead of judging her, why don't you bring her some tea? Why don't you go pick up her groceries for her? Okay, because right now she needs all the help she can get, right? All the help she can get. Because regardless, she has to go to work. Regardless. Right? Now you can't help her with that. But you can help her in other ways to kind of relieve the pressure somewhere. Something has to give. Right? But when you have, and that's the difference between now and back in the day. Back in the day when people used to live in villages and things like that, and granted, in the times were not perfect then either, but at least people had each other and they could rely on each other for different things. Like if you were going through something, your neighbor knew what you were going through. It wasn't a secret. It wasn't, for better or for worse, good or bad. Your neighbor was aware of what you were going through and they could help out and reach out. Nowadays, we're more connected than ever via social media, and at the same time, not so much, right? At the same time, when it's like we're not connected at all. Because the real problems, real life, when real life hits, no real is going to, do it justice, right? Not to mention people don't even show that stuff. So it's like you call it real, but it's not real. You call it real because it's what people want to see. They want to see the good times. They want to see what's going well, which is good too. Okay, it's good to see the positive. But when real life hits, when real problems are going on, no one captures that. Why? Because it's not the sexy thing to do. Who wants to capture themselves crying on the floor in fetal position? Who wants to who can capture themselves falling apart after a long day or a long week? Right? Not too many people want to do that. They just want to show you how great they're doing, whether that is true or not. And then lead you to believe that they have a life that doesn't exist. Okay? But let's be honest. If you got it like that, Barbie girl, that's fine. And you know what? More power to you. And people are happy for you. And that's another thing. Not every woman that's struggling wants you to struggle. That's another thing. In fact, they're happy for you that you found a way out. That maybe you got the information early. Maybe you just luck, maybe just luck. It was on your side and you were able to make it. You found someone, you found the right one. Okay. And you guys were able to make it work. You have a provider husband who cherishes you, who loves you, and provides for you in many, many ways that make you happy. Frankly, that's awesome. And it would be great if every woman could experience that level of not commitment, but yeah, we don't want to say love either because it's so overused, but that type of dedication to another person, right? Maybe we will use commitment. That type of commitment to another person, because that person does show that they are dedicated and she's his priority, and that's wonderful. And he's not gonna let anything get in the way of her questioning that or anyone else questioning it, right? There's no room for doubt. And that's awesome. So if you were able to find that and you have that going on, that's awesome. Make the most of it. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your bliss in marriage, in motherhood, in all of those things. Okay? The fact that you were able to achieve that is something to celebrate. And even women that struggle are celebrating with you. Because the alternate lifestyle of struggle and grind and hustle and give and overgive, and the alternative is not something that any reasonable woman would wish on her worst enemy, right? That's just facts. Would wish on her worst enemy. So the fact that you're able to find that is something that most reasonable women would actually go out with you and celebrate with you and cheer you on for and help you sustain and maintain and whatnot, because it's good. But you know what? Have the decency. Have the decency to not judge her, right? Instead, what you could do is maybe ask questions if you have the opportunity, whether it's direct questions, with that person specifically, or just in your mind, just be curious as to why maybe she's in that situation, right? But you don't need to sit there and have the decency not to judge her. And if you're not going to help, have the decency to just stay away, okay? Because it's better to be quiet. It's better to say nothing at all than to be another force of evil in her life, okay? And you don't need to put yourself in that camp. Just enjoy your life, make the most of it, and stay out of her way if you're not going to help, all right?